Hey guys, we're back with the next episode of our Sryth Fantasy Text Space RPG. So we finished Hawklore stuff, and now we've moved on to Durnsig, or whatever. It's a small village, typical of most settlements in Western Tisa. And we're working on adventures and quests there. Look, I'm up to rank number 70, you guys. Awesome. So we've been to every building, I imagine. And now we're just doing adventures for this location, which there's a few, so that's good. So yeah, I'm just going to keep going along with adventuring here in Durnsig. And thanks so much for hanging out and joining me. Let's go. Let's go on with Creeping Death. In Bach, I say. As so begins Creeping Death. While passing through Durnsig, you begin to hear rumors of a series of recent and troubling events in the nearby village of Quarrick. The reports that reach you suggest that Quarrick is unsieged by hideous, monstrous creatures that creep out of the surrounding forest after dark. Despite your initial instinct to dismiss such tales as exaggerated accounts of a few travelers, something about the unsettling narratives makes you believe that the timely visit to the village might be in order. Late in the afternoon, less than 2 hours after leaving Durnsig, you arrive in Quarrick. It becomes immediately apparent the small settlement is in a state of distress. Creeping Death. This doesn't sound good. Must be the undead, right? A few inquiries among the distraught citizenry of the small village leads you to Quarrick's protector, an elderly one-armed man named Durnsig. He tells you that for the past week the village has been plagued by giant spiders. Oh. You learn that the massive arachnids, most of them the size of a large dog, creep out of the surrounding forest as soon as the sun sets and begins prowling the region. They don't come into the village at first, he said. They didn't come into the village at first, he says, his haggard appearance and tired voice betraying his weariness. But they didn't last for long. We lost 2 of our folk last night, making it 4 in all since the start of it. Things have taken a turn for the worse, I fear. Worse by far. Durnsig tells you that he immediately sent for help at the sighting of the very first spider. His plea, he relates, was swiftly unanswered. Just yesterday, a group of 7 border rangers arrived in Quarrick. After being apprised of the recent events, the brave woodsmen plunged into the forest in search of the source of hideous infestation. They have not returned. 7, huh? We are left to assume they met the worst of fates, he said, his voice choked with emotion. I've no one that could go in after them, not with any hope of returning. To lead them to such a gruesome end is enough to. This is all very trying for us. You must excuse me. When you inform Durnsig that you intend to delve into the forest and see if you can discover the fate of the missing rangers and perhaps the source of the spider plague, he gasps and stares at you in wide-eyed disbelief. Then he emphatically shakes his head and tells you that such an endeavor is much too dangerous an undertaking. We've already sent for more help, he said. You should certainly wait until it arrives. Stepping under those trees alone is far too perilous. I can't allow you to do such a thing. Despite Durnsig's initial objection to your proposed mission, it takes you only a few minutes to wear him down and convince him to allow you to investigate the forest. He tells you that he still thinks you should wait for more help to arrive, but he will not stop you from doing what you feel you must. Yeah, I'm rank 70 adventurer. I must see what's up in the woods. At your request, the protector of Quarrick leads you to a spot on the eastern edge of the village where several of the large spiders have been seen emerging from the wood. There, he wishes you luck and warns you that you should leave the forest at the first sign of danger. With little intention of heeding his cautionary words, you bid him farewell and make your way along the winding path that snakes its way into the tangled woodland. And I'm an expert woodswoman, whatever. It doesn't take long to find what you're looking for. Only a quarter of a mile into the forest, just as the thick hardwoods thin out at the edge of the broad expanse of rocky terrain, you pass over the back of a small hill and your eyes immediately fall upon a horrifying sight. Oh, what is it? Bodies? Swarming along a jagged raised length of the ledge, their long, hairy legs move nimbly across the rugged stone to which they cling, are no less than a dozen giant black and green spiders. The smallest of the hideous arachnids is easily the size of a large dog. Long, barbed stingers protrude from the abdomen of each spider, and the sickening scuttling sound fills the air, echoing off the trees around you. As the massive spiders swarm endlessly along the stretch of ledge, you suddenly recognize these giant creatures to be death barb spiders. Oh, a particularly aggressive and venomous species of spiderdom. You're about to steal away to your right to get a better look at the crawling horde when a series of soft footfalls from your left sends your pulse racing. You spin in the direction of the sound only to find yourself facing one of the deadly spiders. With your heart pounding, you instinctively draw yourself into an defensive stand as the death barb spider rushes toward you, its jaw scratched wide and its barb stinger poised to stab into your flesh. It's almost time for some of my deliveries. Death barb spider. Alright, let's read a little bit about them. The giant venomous green and black spiders, many of which grow to the size of a large dog, are named for the large barb stinger that protrudes from the end of their tapered abdomens. The venom injected by the barb stinger serves to incapacitate the spider's prey and can ultimately paralyze creatures man-sized or smaller. All sorts of gone extinct. Sightings of death barb spiders have occurred with greater frequency in the last few years, all across the North Broadlands. Okay. Fight to the death! Who's dead? You're dead. You step past the twitching remains of the slain spider, only to find yourself confronted by yet another of the giant spiders. Giant creature spiders. With the second spider thrashing about on the forest floor, deep in the throes of death, you're horrified to discover the swarming death bars have abandoned their perch and ledge and are surging through the forest toward you. With no hope of escaping the impending onslaught, you press your back against a sturdy oak and prepare to engage the 11 deadly arachnids. One of 11, making certain that none of the swarming horde can attack your flanks. You draw yourself into a combat-ready stance and bravely engage the first of the giant spiders. Wow. Okay, a finely well-placed blow sends the hideous spider swirling backwards into the forest floor. Its 8 legs twitch wildly for several moments before at last becoming still. Staving off your growing fatigue, you prepare to face the next of the deadly spiders. The next of the death barbs is jaw stretched wide and its long stinger poised to pierce your flesh. Scuttle forward and attack. But just on 2. Okay, this is all going to say the same thing. So let's kill him. Let's kill him. 1, 4, 5. Let's kill him. Let's kill him. Yes, I'm growing in fatigue. I gotcha. Saving off the growing. Yep, I'm tired, but it's death to them or death to me. Which one do we want? We want death to them. And I'm an adventurer. I'm well versed and well practiced in these arenas to kill 9 foes without a problem. And finalmente, the final one. The last of the death barbs is a lengthy stinger is poised to pierce your flesh, climbs off the twitching remains of its slain kin, and attacks. Ooh, that's half my health gone though. Wasn't good. A final well-placed blow sends the hideous spider falling backwards into the forest floor, its 8 legs twitching wildly for several moments before at last becoming still. With no more death barbs in sight, you exhale sharply and step back, allowing your eyes to wander the field of the oozing carnage strewn about the ground before you. After taking a few moments to get your breath and recover from the brutal fight, oh my gosh, more coming. You make your way around the remains of the spiders and investigate the ledge upon which the hideous creatures have been perched. There, on the other side of the protruding spine of stone, you make a gruesome discovery. Lying at the base of the ledge, their partially devoured remains covered with flies, the body of the 7 missing border rangers. They're all dead! The brave woodsmen, their weapons scattered across the forest floor nearby, appear to have made their final stand against spiders in this very spot. With the overpowering stench of death assailing your senses, you peer along the length of the exposed stretch of ledge and immediately take note of the wide, dark hole in the earth at the base of the rock cliff. You're about to move over and investigate the hole when you spot something moving inside the shadowy opening. A split second later, a surging horde of death barbs, the echoes of their scuttling rise through the trees and pours out the holes and tears across the ground towards you. As you retreat from the ledge and hurriedly attempt to determine your next course of action, the vile arachnids swarm through the forest, attempting to surround you and cut off any chance of escape. With your heart pounding, you count 21 of the giant spiders now closing in from all sides. You quickly realize, unless you flee now, you won't be able to escape the pressing horde. Or we can't flee. This, my friend, is what restoration is for. Heal until full. Stand your ground. The massive swarm of death spiders presses in from all sides as deadly creatures prepare to attack and devour their intended prey. Without a second thought, you press your back against the pair of towering hardwoods and draw yourself into battle stances for the surging horde of spiders to close in around you. How many are we talking? 21! Wow! Yeah, I bravely engage the first of the spiders. Yep, here we go. 21 more spiders. Who is it up to if it's not up to me? It's up to me to clear this area of these spiders. 7 border rangers. Couldn't go against them, but I'm Allison. I've been born to fight the denizens of the world. I've been born to clear the forests and woods of these dangerous creatures. I will not back down. I will not run off. And I have powers for which to heal myself, such as this. Oh, it's not gonna let me heal mid-battle. Okay. Rude like that, huh? Okay, we're on 13. I need to heal. You're not gonna let me heal. That's what I thought. I said when to heal, we heal. Alright. We're almost there. We're almost there. 4 more. 3 more. 2 more. 1 more. Savage strike. With no more deathbeds in sight, you exhale sharply and step back, allowing your eyes to wander the field of oozing carnage strewn around the ground before you. Who's gonna get rid of all these things? With the gruesome remains of 21 death barbs now scattered across the forest floor before you, you lean back against the trunk of a sturdy ash and spend the next several minutes recovering from the fight. A thorough search of the immediate area reveals no sign of any further spiders. After making reasonably certain, the dark hole at the base of the ledge is devoid of any of its former fearsome denizens, you poke your head down into the opening and stare along a broad earthen tunnel that extends nearly 20 feet to the west. The recently scavenged patches, obviously the handiwork of the giant spiders, is completely empty. As you stand up and move away from the hole, you surmise that the tunnel must have been the start of a massive death bar nest, a lair which the spiders aggressively defended. Battle-weary and eager to leave the forest, you make a final search of the area before heading back to the village. You encounter no sign of any further spiders, which leaves you reasonably certain that the citizens of Quarrick have nothing more to fear with regard to the hideous, creeping menace that lurked into the nearby wood. Word of your victory over the spiders' horde spread quickly through the small village. In the settlement's protector listens intently as you describe for him your encounter with the death barbs and your discovery of the slain border rangers. After thanking you repeatedly, he ushers you into his residence in the edge of town, where he and his wife prepare a simple but hearty meal for you. He then insists that you at least stay the night as you recover from your harrowing ordeal in the forest. Yes, I can shower and lay down. The following morning, shortly after dawn, an entire regiment of soldiers, led by a small group of border rangers, rise into Quarrick. The leader of the rangers immediately sets upon his men upon the grim task of recovering the bodies of their slain brothers in arms. He also thanks you and asks you for an account of what has happened here since your arrival in the village. Brave indeed is she who walked willingly into such peril, he says, stroking his greying beard. From what I gather, you put down at least every last one of those vile creatures. Well done. We'll scout the area and make certain there aren't any still wandering about. Well done indeed. Thank you again, Alison. You're welcome. At length, after speaking with the ranger leader and again with Urmson, who continues to thank you, you bid them farewell and prepare to set out from Quarrick. Nearly a mile from Quarrick, as the road passes across the treeless summit of the boulder-strewn slope, you turn to look back in the direction of the village. There, nestled in amongst the lower farms, framed on 3 sides by thick ancient forests, the settlement appears peaceful, far removed from the last few terrifying days its citizens had endured. Without looking back again, you turn and continue along the road as it descends towards a wide belt of firs, now more mindful than ever that appearances can be deceiving and that there's never a want of adventure and its associated peril to be had in the wilds of Tisa. The end of creeping death. Speaking of, I'm not doing any investigations. I want to go back to Hawklaw, to the windowless building, the blue door, and get my experience bonus. Yeah. Alright. Get exits. Let's see about see if we can train anything. Yeah? Pretty open for training here. We're doing good in restoration. Let's go skills. We're already 91 in archery. I don't even know what arcane is for. But I would obviously like to train woodmanship. And I should be better in that because, you know, now I've only got, what, 1700. Some of these only require 20. So close. Oh, there's a few I could train. I'm only worried about slashing. Hacking? No, I'm using slashing, right? I think so. I'm training slashing. Alright. Experience down. Alright. Let's travel back to Durnsig and see more about the adventures here. 15 minutes in. An unwelcome encroachment is next. Let's go with it. An unwelcome encroachment. You arrived in Durnsig less than an hour ago, and upon learning that a lad by the name of Tomdrin claims to have spotted a group of ogres encamped in the nearby wood less than a mile from the village, you immediately find him and ask him to tell you the precise location of this disturbing find. After receiving his account and tactfully dismissed the repeated offers of accompaniment from several members of the ill-equipped village militia, you promptly set out on your own to investigate. Yeah, I don't want to be responsible for your death. The boys claim, a claim that has already sent a ripple of panic through the remote settlement. It takes only a short trek to the forest east of Durnsig to verify Tomdrin's story. In the thick of the wood, at the top of the broad, gradual slope, you catch your first glimpse of a small encampment described by Tomdrin. Concealed by a dense, almost impenetrable wall of mountain laurel, you move up to within perhaps a dozen yards of the campsite. There, crouched at the base of the leaning maple, you spot the camp's troublesome occupants. 5 ogres, seated around the smouldering remains of a poorly built fire, seemed engrossed in discussion about how best to launch a raid on Durnsig. Oh, I was gonna be nice and just talk to you, but now we hear you talking about raids? Death! As the hulking creatures begin to argue, the largest of them a fearsome, hideously scarred specimen of ogredom, clad in the tattered remains of a leather vest, leaps to his feet and silences the debate with a savage snarl. You quickly discern that the vested ogre is the leader of the marauding band of 5, a band that you've just heard announce his intention to attack Durnsig. Your mind races you to determine your next course of action. Attack. You sit close to the edge of the ogre's smaller campsite and quickly conceal yourself in the undergrowth. The moment the leader of the ogre turns his back to you, you spring out in the foliage and launch what you pray will turn out to be a surprise attack. Success. Your sudden, well-executed attack finds the 5 ogres completely. Takes the 5 ogres completely by surprise. Before the savage creatures are able to react, you neatly dispatch of 2 of them with a series of death and brutal blows. The scarred, leather-clad leader of the ogres snarls viciously as he falls back, signaling with a twist of his head for his remaining underlings to attack. The 2 ogres heed his unspoken command without hesitation. Death to the heathens. The ogre grunts pitifully and topples to the ground at your feet. His gaping wound oozes thick streams of blood as he draws a final ragged breath and expires. His brutish cohort snarls viciously and steps boldly towards you, his heavy club poised to deal you a crippling blow. Or he's dead. You step back from the bloody remains of the slain ogre and immediately turn to face the leather-cat leader of the savage quintet. The ogre leader, his cruel eyes narrow and his hideously scarred face twisted with rage, bellows savagely. The hulking creature's primal battle cry echoes off the surrounding trees as he stumps forward, raising his spiked club higher and with each of his lengthy strides. Death to the leader! You make a quick search of the ogre's bloody remains and discover that only their brutal clubs seem to be of any value. Keep them. An examination of the immediate area turns a bag of gold tucked away from the rock of the edge of the campsite. You promptly take possession of it. At last searching, you haven't overlooked anything, and eager to move away from the ghastly scene, you turn and set off through the forest. With the band of ogres no longer a threat to Durnsig or anywhere else for that matter, you make your way out of the forest and back to the village. News of your victory over the marauding band spreads quickly throughout Durnsig, serving to remind a rattled local populace of the ever-present danger faced by kingdom's more remote settlements. The villagers are grateful and vow to remain more vigilant. They also promise to send word of the unwelcome incursion to all nearby towns and villages. On your way to that village, you happen upon Tomdrin, the young lad you first saw at the spot of the ogres as they set up their nearby camp. You thank him and relate to him details of your encounter with the creatures, leaving out some more of the unpleasant part. He listens to your brief account in wide-eyed silence, confident that Durnsig is now safe, at least until the next predicament inevitably decides to rear its head. You bid the lad farewell and happily set off along the winding woodland road that will lead you away from the village, but to nowhere in particular. Now, we're not leaving yet. Only 3 more. And then this one will only take 2 minutes. Rumours of a recent sighting in the skies above Durnsig have led to the base of Ogrehead Hill, a steep, boulder-strewn slope in the forest east of the village. Okay. Gefilkebish. As rumors of a dragon sighting over Durnsig reaches your ears in the common room of the weary bard, a dilapidated inn in the northern edge of the Hard Hills, you promptly set out for the small hamlet, eager to discern for yourself the veracity of the intriguing claims. Less than a day after leaving the inn, you arrive in Durnsig. After making several inquiries, hoping to find someone able to corroborate the story of the sighting, you encounter a group of 4 children eager to tell you that they spotted a dragon circling high above the village only 3 days ago. One of the children, an older boy whose face is almost completely concealed by a wild mop of dark hair, says the dragon flew over Ogrehead Hill and then disappeared. You exit up the hill and learn that it rises out of the forest just to the east of the village. You thank the children and prepare to set off on your way, only to suddenly realize the boy who told you about the hill is staring at you unexpectedly. Alright, give it gold. You present the gold token to each of the 4 children and thank them for telling you about the dragon in the hill. The 2 boys and 2 girls, their face beaming, stare wide-eyed at the coins for several moments before suddenly dipping into polite bows and thanking you repeatedly. Without further delay, you bid them farewell and set off into the forest east of the village. After only a short walk through the forest east of Durnsig, you reach the base of a steep, boulder-strewn hillock. A narrow path winds its way through the rocks and trees that cover the towering slope. Making your way toward the foot of the path, you've just begun to wonder how Ogrehead Hill obtained its colourful monocle when 2 men step out of the brush in front of you. The rugged pair, each clad in a leather jerkin and holding a wooden cudgel, tell you that you cannot go any further. When you question them about it, the men raise their cudgels and step threateningly toward you. You don't need to know any of that, lass, says the taller of the 2. Go on, go back as you came. The hill's off limits to you. It'll be much safer for you back in the village. Very dangerous out in these woods. You must not know about me. You must not know about me. I'm Allison. I'm a famous adventurer around here. I ain't going nowhere. Your bold refusal angers the 2 men. They immediately separate and rush at you from 2 directions, their cudgels raised as they prepare to attack. Brazenly drawing yourself into a combat-ready stance, the 2 brigands rush forward and attack. I guess I won't kill you. I don't know why you're attacking. Standing over your battered foes, you waste no time in demanding that they reveal to you their reasons for trying to keep you from climbing the hill. The taller of the 2 men, lying on his back with his hands clasped over his broken nose, moans as he slips into unconscious. The other man, a voice trembling, begins to answer your questions. The man tells you that he and his cohort are part of the 7-member outfit that arrived in the area only yesterday in pursuit of a wounded dragon. You inquire further and learn that the dragon was ruled by the leader of the group, a spellcaster bent on collecting something from the dragon. You continue to question the man, and he tells you the dragon, whose wings is badly damaged by a magical blast of fire, landed atop the hill. 5 others, he says, went up the hill only a couple of hours ago, leaving him and the other men to guard the foot of the path. Without warning, the man's eyes flutter and close as he loses consciousness. Quick such the 2 men turn up their wood cudgels and a small quantity of gold. You keep the cudgels. After making your certain you haven't overlooked anything, you make your way to the foot of the path and begin a swift but cautious ascent of the hill. Your path, the path you're following winds up and around the steep treacherous sides of the Ogrehead Hill. Now and again, as you carefully ascend, a section of loose earth gives way beneath your feet, keeping you ever mindful that a tumble down the boulder-strewn slope could prove deadly. After nearly 10 minutes, the path abruptly ends at the base of the towering wall of rock that blocks any further progress of the hill. Dangling down from above, presumably anchored to something out of sight, is a thick length of rope. The frayed end of the rope is within arm's reach. Gazing up at the intimidating cliff, you surmise it must be at least 30 feet high. Certain that there is no other way to reach the summit, you carefully contemplate what will likely prove to be a difficult and dangerous climb, even with the use of the rope. Okay. Shall I climb? Shall I climb? Yes, we shall climb. Gripping the rope tightly, you attempt to climb the steep rock face to the summit of Ogrehead Hill. You manage to climb nearly 1/3 of the way up the wall of rock. With your hands and arms aching, your feet hunting for suitable holes in the jagged cliff face, you boldly continue upward. Oh, if you're wondering what's on my shirt, it's a Gerarg. Yeah, we're not friends with Joss, but Gerarg. It's childhood. You march to the climb almost 2/3 of the way up the wall of the rock. Bathed in sweat, with your hands and arms feeling as if they could at any moment give out, you continue to pull yourself upward. Man, I'm a woodsman. I'm good. At last, after and grueling climb. You reach the top of the wall and haul yourself over the cliff's jagged lip and onto the summit of the hill. Summit. The top of Ogrehead Hill is much wider than it seems from its base. Moving furtively through the band of trees that crowns the forest slope, you soon come upon a strange and unsettling scene. 4 men clad in a mix of stud leather and chainmail stand around the bloody carcass of a small dust dragon. You estimate the dragon is grey-scaled body, perhaps twice the size of a horse, is less than half grown. The men, 3 of them brandishing iron half-spears, and the 4th a heavy axe, stare intently at the remains of the majestic creature. Standing a few yards away near the dragon's head is a tall, lanky man in a grimy tattered tunic. The tall man thrusts his hand toward the dragon. Seconds later, a faint blue glow envelopes the carcass. The glow quickly fades, and the man, a perplexed look taken form on his gaunt face, takes several steps back. You quickly discern that the man in the tunic must be the mage mentioned to you by the brigand you questioned in the forest below. Without warning, the dragon snorts, and its entire torso convulses violently. 4 men quickly step back and level the weapons at the creature. The dragon again snorts, and the man in the tunic frowns as he draws both his hands to his temple and closes his eyes. The dragon is alive. Severely wounded, the dragon appears to be just barely clinging to life. The fearsome creature, its torso riddled with bloody gashes, and its right wing badly singed, is now snorting rapidly. You're taken aback when the dragon suddenly grunts and struggles in vain to regain his feet. The mage, his brow streaked with sweat and his eyes shut tight, mutters something as he boldly inches closer to the stricken beast. "Its mind is almost broken," he announces to companions, his thin voice barely audible above the dragon's laboured breaths. "Nothing to fear from it. Steady on now. Just a bit more and I'll have what I want." Immediately certain that the man you assume to be a mage is attempting for reasons unknown to forcefully read the mind of the wounded dragon. Suddenly and quite inexplicably, the man furthest to the left turns and spots you. Quickly raises the alarm, and the others, including the man in the tattered tunic, spin in your direction. "Aye." The man in the tunic quickly orders the others to dispatch you. "I'll leave a body atop the hill," he says, his thin voice almost completely devoid of emotion. "Once we've taken down the rope, no one but the crows will bother this place." Immediately realizing the flight is not an option, you use the surrounding terrain to your advantage, quickly positioning yourself to face the 4 men one at a time. Within moments, the first of 4 is upon you. I mean, death, sounds like. With that man seemingly unnerved by the speed in which he dispatches 2 cohorts, turns and flees, dashing across the top of the hill toward the rope that bears him down into the forest below. The last of the 4, bearded brute, whose thick fingers are wrapped tightly around his haft of a heavy double-bladed axe, curses his companion's cowardice as he deftly draws into melee range. And then he's dead. The man with the axe staggers to his right and sinks to his knees after slumping to the side of and allowing the axe to slide into the ground. As ragged breath escapes the blood-spattered lips, and death claims him. Scattered about at your feet, the weapons of the 3. I'll take the axe. Slain assailants. Wasting no time, you immediately turn your attention to the dragon. The great beast, its massive size rising and falling erratically as it struggles to draw breath, makes several weak, futile attempts to rise to its feet, and there's no sign of the man in the tattered tunic. Out of the corner of your eye, and nearly at the last possible moment, you spot something moving to the right. Instinctively drawing yourself into a defensive stance, you spin to face what you perceive to be an immediate threat and find the man in the tunic closing in on you, his long arms outstretched and his bony hands wreathed in blue flame. He's almost within melee range when he suddenly unleashes a crackling bolt of azure fire that misses you by mere inches. Before you can even contemplate your next move, the man draws out a long iron rod and lunges at you, swiping at your head with the heavy weapon. Rod-wielding mage, death. The mage's frail body slumps to the ground at your feet. Stepping back from the corpse, you stare down at the dead sorcerer as you wipe the spattering of blood off the right side of your face. A quick search of the remains turn up an iron rod and the 2 only pieces of salvageable attire. I'll take the rod. After making certain you haven't overlooked anything, you promptly turn your attention to the dragon, only to have your heart nearly skip a beat when a low, laboured murmur comes from the direction of the slain spellcaster. Bewilderment quickly turns to shock as your gaze falls upon the body of the mage, a man you believe to be dead. His cruel eyes, now open, move up to meet your horrified stare as a faint smile appears on his lips. "I think they'll have another chance at you. I can give them that." Your first instinct is to step forward and deal with the sinister mage with what you hope will be a decisive blow, but the notion is chasing you from your mind with a loud hiss, followed swiftly by a ragged moan erupts from behind you. Spin around and you find yourself facing a gruesome sight. Staggering toward you at an unnerving pace, The blood-chilling chorus of moans soaring in the air are the rising corpses of 3 men you just killed. The unarmed tree is swiftly closing in. A quick glance at the body of the mage reveals that he once again is either dead or unconscious. No time to dwell on his present condition and no hope of escape. You hurriedly draw yourself into a combat-ready stance and prepare to meet the impending attack. Necromancy! You challenge your power of necromancy and focus it on the advancing corpses. Though you are unable to command the undead trio to halt, you sense that you managed to weaken them. The corpses are now dangerously close. You hurriedly prepare for combat. First corpse staggers forward and attacks, and sickening, gurgling sound escapes from his throat as it reaches out for you. Oh, he's dead. The corpse staggers to the left and collapses. A ghastly moan escapes from the dead man's mouth as his eyes slowly roll back into his head. You swiftly assume a defensive posture as you prepare to engage the next of your undead foes. The second staggering corpse staggers forward and attacks, a sickening gurgling sound escaping from his throat as it reaches out for you. Gross. You quickly draw yourself into combat and prepare to meet the events of the last of your undead assailants. Dead. The corpse staggers forward and collapses. Ghastly moans escape from the dead man's mouth as his eyes slowly roll back into his head. Stepping away from the gruesome remains of the last living corpse, you turn only to have your eyes greeted by a strange and unsettling sight. Is it the mage again? Only a heap of clothing atop which rests a grimy tattered tunic marks the spot where the sorcerer's body lay only moments ago. You immediately scour the hilltop, but there's no sign to be had of the sinister mage. As your eyes return to a pile of attire, a low moment, something just above a whisper slips into your thoughts. At first, indistinct words begin to take form out of the strange hiss until a deep rumbling voice surges through your mind. You quickly cast your gaze at the dragon and start to find that the creature's large black eyes are cracked open and fixed on you. The dragon is attempting to speak to you telepathically. Wow! Not daring to interrupt the low thundering voice echoing through your head, you listen as the dragon thanks you and then reveals the circumstances that led him to the ill-fated confrontation on the hill's summit. You learn that the mage you defeated is a powerful necromancer and a vicious outlaw known only to Luftman, whose trail of atrocity stretches across nearly the entire breadth of the North Broadlands. He has twice before escaped my attempts to kill him, rumbles the dragon's voice. That was a long time ago. In the years since he's become powerful and I made no further attempts against him. He's clever and without conscience. A most dangerous combination of traits. He's hunted me for the last several years, but not out of vengeance. Revenge is my game. He wishes to know a secret I have long guarded, a secret I had hoped to protect by killing him, a secret I am now happily forfeit my life to protect. As you continue to listen to the dragon, you're surprised to learn that he is much older than his small size would seem to indicate. I am no doubt smaller than you expect, but I am no youngling. He echoes his voice, its resonance nearly drowning out all other thought. Magic has cursed me, as it does all who recklessly wield it. I do not regret knowing its power, but it's impossible to deny that it has not diminished me. Body, mind, and spirit, very wary have I become. Intrigued by what the dragon has thus revealed, you speak aloud, asking him about the necromancer, the sorcerer he defeated, the mage whose body has now vanished. His name need not be uttered unnecessarily, echoes the dragon's voice in your mind. He seeks to learn from his secret my kin and I have long guarded. We were here to learn he would deliver him something powerful and terrible, something not of this world, something he must never acquire. The dragon's voice falls silent for several moments, then as if having given careful consideration to what he's about to say, he continues, I do not know you, and yet I find that I possess a profound faith in you, rumbles his voice as its harsh tone again enters your mind. I believe I can trust with you with what must at long last be done. I'm soon to depart this world. It is of little conscience to me what happens after I'm gone. I'm no governance over such things, but you can prevent a great wickedness from taking root if you do as I ask, will you? Yeah, okay. You tell the dragon you will agree to do as he asks, and a harsh rumble immediately passes through your mind. The rumble, at first, little more than a savage, guttural sound, swiftly reforms itself as the dragon's deep voice. It is instantly as the dragon tells you of a stone box hidden in the ancient ruins deep in nearby Bitlim Wood. You must retrieve this box and deliver it to Miralaw in Telinus. You will find Miralaw in the West Guard Library, but heed what is I am about. You must not allow the box to fall into Luftman's hand, and you must never open it. Oh my gosh, I should write this down or something, huh? Because I'm not going to remember. Okay, box from bit limb wood to Westgard Library in Tolenus. Give it to Miralaw. Don't lose or open. Okay. Speaking aloud, you ask the dragon why you must not open the box. After a lengthy pause during which his breathing becomes noticeably less regular, his deep voice again rumbles through your mind. What is within is not for the eyes of the living, echoes his voice. It is most certainly not for those who wish to remain among the living. It is for this reason Lafman wishes to gain possession of it. Now, know that when the box is in your hand, the temptation to open it to peer into it will be great, perhaps even greater than you believe your will can withstand, but you must not choose that path. Place it safely away and think no more of it. Bring it to Milano and to Linus. Milano will know what to do with it. Okay. Strange feeling suddenly washes over you. The unsettling sensation quickly fades, leaving you breathless in its wake. The dragon's voice once again tears through your thoughts. The ruins that still guard the box are a place known as Greenstone. Rumbles the voice in your head. Its purpose, its history are of a time long since forgotten. So too should the relics of that place be forgotten. For there are no tools to be wielded by those whose souls are these corrupted. I have just given you the key to unlock Greenstone's gates. The key is hidden in your thoughts and will reveal itself to you when you are before the gates. Struggling to comprehend all of what the dragon has told you, you suddenly realize he has not yet told you the precise location of the ruins. Before you ask the next question, the dragon voice begins to roar through your mind as you describe for you the location of the ruins in Bitler Wood where the box is found. The clear image of the ruins at the forefront of your thoughts, the dragon's voice was silent. I didn't mean to go over time like this. After nearly a minute of silence, the dragon's deep rumbling voice again echoes through your mind. This time, however, he's using language utterly foreign to you. The harsh tongue of his kin, the ancients speak of dragon kind. His thundering voice, its powerful resonance shaking your every thought, slowly fades to a whisper before abruptly disappearing altogether. It is in that moment you become acutely aware that the dragon is breathing his last, a weak, ragged draught of air, followed by a long, shallow hiss that rapidly slips into a sigh, immediately preceding his passing. It is, by your reckoning, an unremarkable and satisfying end for a creature so proud, dangerous, and mighty. Standing next to the dead dragon, you close your eyes and whisper a quick prayer, hoping that the departed creature has at last found refuge for those who mercilessly pursued it, and reprieve from pain and violence that marked its last living hours. You step back from the carcass and cast your gaze about the top of the hill. The summit now seems strangely empty, and as your eyes wander in and out of the trees that ring the patch of ground upon which you stand, you find yourself struggling against a vague sense of unease. Still wary, following the sudden disappearance of the slain mage, the subsequent warnings of dying dragon, you have no desire to linger here. The location of the ruins emblazoned in your mind, you vow to keep your word and retrieve the box described to you by the dragon and deliver it safely to Miralaw and Tolenus. Turn to the rope at the top of the rock wall and stare down at the base of the cliff nearly 30 feet below. After making certain the rope was still properly anchored, you grip it with both hands and lean back to a rather precarious position as your feet against the rock face as you begin a careful descent. Short but arduous climb carries you safely down the rock face to the base of the cliff. Volley down. After nearly a minute, having sufficiently recovered from the descent, you had to make your way back down the hill. Turning away from the towering wall of rock, you're about to begin a careful ascent along the steep track when the sound of something moving through the nearby undergrowth freezes you mid-step. You instinctively draw yourself into a defensive stance as your eyes scour the surrounding bush for any sign of what you fear may be an impending ambush. You sail sharply and lower your guard as your ambusher suddenly spill out of the undergrowth into the steep path. The 4 children you met in Durnsig, 2 girls and 2 boys, stand in the middle of the track, their arms folded defiantly. Wide grins adorn their faces, suggesting they have taken no small measure of pride having nearly sneaked up on you. Before you ask them what they're doing here, they launch into the following questions that you most concern the dragon they believe you came here seeking. The older of the 2 girls, her eyes fixed on the rope hanging from the wall of the rock behind you, asks you if you've been atop the hill and whether or not you found the dragon. Yeah, I found him. The children listen with widening eyes as you describe for them, leaving out the gruesome details you encountered with the dying dragon on top of the hill. You assure them that the creature is now peacefully at rest and no longer suffering. Realizing that your account may have irrevocably stirred the curiosity, you quickly state that no one should attempt to climb to the summit and disturb the dragon's remain. Despite your safe position, the small gang continues to gaze thoughtfully up toward the summit. When the eldest of the children, Lad, who first mentioned Ogre Head Hill to you, steps forward and appears in the dangling rope, you immediately descend the dangerous notion that he and perhaps the others may be entertaining. Cut the rope. With only a small amount of effort disturbing small to your mind, you manage to yank the rope free, thus dashing the dangerous aspiration of the brazen band gathered at the base of the cliff. When the groans of disapproval, you coil the rope and place it amongst your other belongings. Before starting off for Durnsig, after first making certain the children understand they will be accompanying you, you gently admonish them about the dangers of running about in the wilds, even so close to the village. Having begrudgingly, likely only temporarily, accepted your authority, the children head quickly down the hill and move back toward the village, leaving you struggling to keep pace. Their incessant chattering rings through the forest as they trek steadily along, stopping now and again to closely examine some innocuous woodland feature you would never have bothered to notice. And when you reach the outskirts of Durnsig, you bid your small companions farewell and set off on your way. Hopefully they've taken your friendly warning to heart, but not naive enough to be even remotely confident of it. Don't forget. I think we'll work on that next time. Get it out of the way, because if we don't do it right away, we'll probably forget about it. So that's the end of this episode. Went much longer than I thought I was going to go. But you never know how long these adventures are. So thanks so much for hanging out and joining me. You know what I'm going to say. Peace.